Greetings to all in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. In December 2019, our government of India has passed the Citizenship Amendment Act. The entire nation has started protesting against it. In this context, what should be the Christian response to it? So, the Christian response ought to be rational and biblical, if I have to summarize it. How do we rationally analyze the Citizenship Amendment Act? We can very well do it. That is what we are going to do it. We are going to look at the Citizenship Amendment Act and later the NRC. First evaluate it rationally and then provide a biblical perspective. Ministry of Law and Justice has published the Citizenship Amendment Act dated 12th December 2019. And I am going to read the relevant portions which we need to analyze. Amendment of Section 2. It says that provided that any person belonging to Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi or Christian community, namely 6 communities, from Afghanistan, Bangladesh or Pakistan, 3 countries, who have entered into India on or before 31st December 2014, has been exempted by the laws which are the laws of passport entry and then the Foreigners Act of 1947. In other words, they are not going to be considered as illegal migrants, but though the word the religious persecution or is not mentioned, they are going to be considered as persecuted people from these 3 countries, and they are going to be granted citizenship on a speed track. 6 communities from 3 countries. Now the first, let us analyze it before we think about anything about why these 3 countries and why 6 communities are given this special provision. Let us first ask some certain questions. Why blanket permission for all these religions? Why are these 6 communities given the permission? As Arnab Goswami rightly asked, there are Khalistans in Pakistan. For example, Hafiz Said's aide Gopal Chawla, who was in the Gurudwara committee of Pakistan, he is known as a Khalistan guy and he was running a ISI network in India. Now he belongs to the Sikh community. If Gopal Chawla or his associates comes to India, why should they be granted a speedy provision, speed track into our citizenship? Why these religions are given blanket permission? Now you can read that newspaper item in the India Today also. Harpal Singh Pala was arrested, has been identified as an close aide of Gopal Singh Chawla, and they were spying for the ISI. Now, any Gopal Singh Chawla or any ISI agent, as long as he belongs to any of these 6 communities, can come and take citizenship in India. Is that the right way? Now, not only that, the second question is, how do you prove that you are a Hindu, Christian or a Muslim? We were thinking about Hafiz Said's aide. Now, for a moment think about it. If a potential Hafiz Said or a potential Ajmal Kasab from Pakistan declares that he is Harish Said or Ajay Kumar from Pakistan, how are you going to prove it otherwise? How can you differentiate a Hindu from a Muslim if he self-declares that he is a Hindu? An Ajmal Kasab coming to India as Ajay Kumar, you will give him a speed track to the citizenship. Is that the right way to do? And now even if you want any certificates, Pakistan will be too happy to give them all the certificates that you need for to grant the speed track citizenship. Now the act doesn't say what kind of checks and balances are there, what kinds of documents are there. Is it just a self-declaration? If it is just a self-declaration, anybody can enter. Now even if you want some documents, Pakistan will be too happy to provide to all the terrorists that they are Hindus and that they are Sikhs or they are Christians out of any of the 6 communities, and they will get a speed track to the citizenship. What a loophole! What have we done to our citizenship? Now, for example, again, if a Pakistani Dawood Ibrahim comes and declares himself as David Abraham, are you going to give him a citizenship? The act actually opens the way for any of the infiltrators to enter in India and declare themselves as entered in India before December 2014 and claim citizenship on a street tract. This is what we have done, such an illogical act that we have enacted in this. Now again, how are you going to prove that you are from any of these three countries? Not only the 6 communities, how are you going to prove from any of these three countries? Rohingya Muslims, for example, they are from Myanmar. But Myanmar has been excluding them, saying that Rohingya Muslims are actually Bangladeshis. Now if a Rohingya Muslim comes and declares himself as a Bangladeshi Hindu, are you going to give him a citizenship? Now how are you going to prove that they are from the 6 communities? How are you going to prove that they are from these 3 countries? And not only that, why this to these communities a blanket permission? Because we know that many of them were spies. Why are you giving it a blanket permission? And what kind of check and balances do you have? Nothing. That is the danger of the Citizenship Amendment Act. Further, amendment to the 3rd schedule, the Citizenship Amendment Act reads, provided that for the person belonging to Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi or Christian community in Afghan, Bangladesh or Pakistan, they are required to have residence here in India or service in the India only for not less than 5 years in place of not less than 11 years. For all the others, if they wanted to have citizenship, you need to be in India for 11 years. But from these 3 countries, 6 communities will have to be only here for 5 years. Look at the absurdity of it. A Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist coming here, and if he wants a citizenship, he will have to stay here for 11 years. A Khalistan coming from Pakistan will have to stay here only for 5 years. Taslima Nursing, an atheist from a Muslim background. Now she will have to, any person like her will have to be here for 11 years. But a Gopal Chawla can be here only for 5 years and you will grant him a citizenship. You have opened actually the Indian citizenship. You have cheapened the Indian citizenship and you have weakened the Indian citizenship through this Citizenship Amendment Act. Look at the actual Citizenship Amendment, actual Citizenship Act of 1955. What a glorious citizenship we had. It was either by citizenship by birth, that you have to be born in this country on or before 26 January 1950 or but before the first day of July 1987, you have to be born, or you have to be through the descendant, or by registration, or by naturalization. These were very difficult to get. Indian citizenship was a glorious citizenship. You have to be here, you have to prove certain things before you become a citizen. Now if you claim that you are from these 6 communities, from these 3 countries, anybody can become a citizen. What have you done to our citizenship? We have weakened it and cheapened it. And this is what we have done through the Citizenship Amendment Act. Every Indian therefore ought to oppose it. Now let us ask, some bucks will say, no, the intentions of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah were good. There might be some loopholes, but they are going to give refugee status. They are actually concerned about the persecuted people in these 3 countries. Is it really so? Let us look at it. We have several we have actually 6 neighboring countries. We have total 9 neighboring countries. With the 7, we share the land boundaries. Actually 6. 7th one, Afghanistan, is though officially we share the boundary with them, they are in the Pak occupied Kashmir. So let us include them. Then it will be 7 countries with which we share the land boundaries, and then we have Sri Lanka, and then if we consider, we have Maldives, which we have a sea border. So out of these 9 countries, you have chosen 3. On what basis? You say religious persecution, and you say census has shown that the minority communities in those countries have significantly declined. Let us look at the census. Let us first start with the Bangladesh. Yes, If you go by the Bangladesh, there is a significant decrease from 1951, which was 23.20% of non-Muslims was there, which is significantly reduced to 9.6% in 2011. That is a drastic and a significant decrease. Now we do not know whether it is because of migration, it is because of persecution, or it is because of population degrowth. We do not know the reason, but let us assume it is religious persecution. Yes, there is a reason to include Bangladesh. Now let us look at Pakistan. Now we are looking at the present Pakistan, which earlier was known as the West Pakistan. And the West Pakistan we have to take, if you are going to take the current Pakistan, we will have to take the West Pakistan before it was divided. The West Pakistan, the non-Muslim population in 1951 was 3.50%, and it has not changed. It has hardly changed. In fact, there was a marginal increase sometime and there is a marginal decrease. In effect, in reality, it has not changed. So why include Pakistan? There is no, census doesn't say any significant increase or any significant decrease of minority population in Pakistan. Again, you look at Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan population, the minority population, specifically the Hindu population, the share of the Hindu faith declined significantly from 15.48% in 1981. We are not comparing 1951, we are comparing 1981. In 1981, 15.48% of Hindus were there in Sri Lanka. In 2012, when again the census was done for the entire Sri Lanka, in between, because of the civil war, the census was not done for the entire Sri Lanka. It was done, some districts were excluded and all. But in 2012, they did it again, census for the entire Sri Lanka. The Hindu population was reduced to 12.58%, almost a significant 3% decrease in this 30-35 years. Why was Sri Lanka excluded? Is it that the blood of the Hindu in Sri Lanka is cheaper and the blood of the Hindu in Pakistan, where there is no significant difference, is much holier or costlier? If you have to go by the census, you should have included the Sri Lanka. Now you say, no, the Sri Lankan Hindus were ethnically persecuted, but they were not religiously persecuted. Who made the distinction between religious persecution and ethnic persecution? And how did you come to the conclusion that the religious persecution is more troublesome than the ethnic persecution? Is it right to kill a Hindu because of its ethnicity rather than his religion? No, you should have shown your love irrespective of the ethnicity and religion. Now you might again say, no, we are concerned right now about religious persecution. Let us forget about the census. Now let us look at the neighboring countries which are the most religiously persecuting, or the policies that they have. When you look at the religious persecution, if you look at the pewforum.org, which is the world well-known organization that conducts research and surveys on this, they have come up with a list, the maximum religious restrictions as per government policies. Now this is as per government policies. Now these organizations measure the religious persecution and religious limits on government policies, on non-state agents, on community wise. So they have different categories. We are looking at the religious limits by government policies. China tops across the world. China is one of the countries with the largest number of religious restrictions at the government level. Why did you exclude China? You should have included China if you are concerned about the religious persecution. Is it that the Chinese, you don't consider them as human race? We have the same race of people in India also. So there is no Tibetan Buddhists, for example, or Chinese Christians, for example. Why did you exclude all of them? If you are concerned about the people of Buddhists and Christians, you should have included them. Now the point is that if you include China, Muslims will come. If you include Sri Lanka, Muslims will come. That is the real reason. Again, United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, you may or may not accept their reports by stating that they are political reports by another government, fine, but they do their well research. And in that, the countries with the maximum, which should be on the alert, high alert, first country comes is Myanmar or Burma. Third country comes is China. Then several country comes, and the first list comes Pakistan also. Okay, Pakistan you can include. But more than that, why did you avoid Myanmar? Why did you avoid China? Again, China is in the list. And then they have a tier 2 countries. In tier 2 countries, Afghanistan is there. But Bangladesh is not there. Now, how did you include Bangladesh? India is there in that second list. Now, we are in another way, in another, at least as per the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, we have less religious freedom than Bangladesh. So, now if you are going to by the religious persecution and not by the census, why did you include Bangladesh? And why did you exclude China and Myanmar? Now, the real reason is, these three countries, Afghan, Bangladesh and Pakistan, have Muslim majority countries. Any other country, whether you include it on the basis of census or on the religious persecution, you will have to accept certain Muslims also into our countries. So the real reason for including these three countries and excluding other countries is that you don't want Muslims to be in. So the point is, you want, let the 1,000 Hindus die in Sri Lanka, you don't care, but let not one Muslim enter into our country. That is your attitude, and that is your problem. So the choosing of the countries was not based on religious persecution or the decline of the population. It was made with the intent. There is no other logical reason we can find for choosing these three countries and excluding others. Now the question is, we have seen that India tops more than Bangladesh when it comes to religious persecution. So who will come from Bangladesh to India? Hindus. Now what kind of Hindus will come? It is not the entire sect of Hindus will come, because India is not favorable for Dalits. If their Dalits are considered as Hindus, then India is not very favorable to them. As per our National Crimes Records Bureau 2017 report, which is the latest report available there, almost 37,000, close to 37,194 atrocities are happening every year. In the year of 2017, 37,194 atrocities have happened against the Dalits. In other words, 102 atrocities per day are happening against the Dalits. Now, is India safe for the Dalit? Now, these atrocities are not by words. Murder and attempt to commit murder, 1,358. That means 4 murder or attempts to murder per day. Assault on women with the intent to outrage her modesty, 8,423. It means 23 assaults on women per day. Rape of Dalit women, 5,428. 15 Dalit women are raped every day. That means every 1.5 hours you have one woman, Dalit woman being raped. Kidnapping, 2,150. That means 6 Dalit kids are kidnapped, or 6 Dalits are kidnapped per day. Not just the Dalit kids, Dalits are kidnapped per day. This is from the National Crimes Record Bureau of our own Government of India. Now, Government of India, we know that National Crimes Record Bureau, how many people will go, how many women will go, Dalit women will go if there is an assault on her. We know that this is a tip of the iceberg. The number might be immensely large. You might say, no, some of this might be false cases. Okay, I am ready to give 10% false cases. In such kind of things, 10% is large, 10% of false cases is large. Even then, you are coming close to around 35,000 people per year, per atrocities per year. So the safe India is not safe for the Dalit Hindu. So do you think that the Dalit Hindu from Bangladesh will come to India? No, Bangladesh actually might be safer for him. Now what are these cases? The Wire has published, the newspaper, online newspaper, the Wire had published the cases in Gujarat alone. The reasons for assaulting Dalits: humiliated and thrashed for sporting a gold chain. A gold chain, a Dalit wore, and the upper caste assaulted him. Lynched by upper caste mob for sporting a Shivaji sticker with a mustache on his racer bike. Dalit got a bike and he posted a Shivaji's poster. He was assaulted because these are not supposed to be keeping, the Dalits are not supposed to be behaving like the upper caste. They have to have their limits. So is India safe for a Dalit? Now you might say, no, see, you are making a false case. No, it is not. If you look at the top 10 destinations for the Hindu migrants, the Hindus, where do Hindus migrate? As per the Pew Research Center Forum in 2010. So this is slightly dated, but this trend would not have been changed much. If at all, the trend would have only increased to certain countries, which I will come later. India tops for the Hindu migrants, well and good. Then is followed by United States. Third country for the Hindus to migrate is Bangladesh. There is a reverse migration happening. Hindus are traveling to Bangladesh to settle down there. Who are these Hindus? I do not have the caste breakup, but I would assume that many of them would be Dalits. Because for a Dalit, India is equal to any other country. You are safer in India, you are as safer in India and as safe or as threatened in India and as threatened in any other country. Now mark this, after Bangladesh comes Nepal, then Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. These are all emigrations they do for jobs. Then comes Pakistan. Pakistan is in the 7th list. Bangladesh is the 3rd favorite destination for Hindus to migrate. Pakistan is the 7th favorite destination for Hindus to migrate. Reverse migration, nobody speaks. Hindus migrate to India, but Hindus also migrate to Bangladesh. It is a 3rd favorite destination. Pakistan is a 7th favorite destination. Look at the irony of this. Every day, the BJP Hindus will say to the others, Muslims and the others, you go to Pakistan, you go to Pakistan, and then they silently sneak out to Pakistan. They are the ones who are going to Pakistan. It is the 7th favorite destination for Hindu. Now you pause and think, why does this happen? Probably because of job, family reunification, but even then, why would any Hindu want to go to Pakistan? The reason could be, they don't see a difference when it comes to safety, whether the Dalits, especially the Dalits, whether they are in India or Pakistan, they would be equally worse or equally safe. So, shouldn't we be more concerned about the safety of the Dalit Hindu in India than about the Afghan Hindu who is seems to have been persecuted there? Shouldn't our Modi ji and Amit Shah ji more worried about the Hindus, Dalit Hindus in Gujarat and the rest of the India than Afghan Hindu, than the Hindu in Afghan? Now let us look at the, and one of the 6 communities is Christians. Who can migrate from, who would have migrated before December 2014, we do not have the number, but anybody can claim like that. Do you think that a Christian would migrate from Bangladesh to India? Now let us look. Open Door USA, it's a Christian organization. They publish on an annual basis the most dangerous countries to follow Christianity. Of course, first comes North Korea, then Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, Pakistan, Sudan, so those African countries, all those things comes. But the 10th country is India. And where does Bangladesh come? Bangladesh comes almost on the 27th. Close to the 30th, the Bangladesh comes. So if we take this report at face value, if there is any truth in this face value, if the methodology is true by any chance, the probability of a Christian being persecuted in India is much higher than in Bangladesh. So why would a Christian migrate from Bangladesh to India? So if you are saying it is based on a religious persecution, you don't have a data to follow up. Neither the census nor the religious persecution reports that are international reports supports this case. Now you might say, no, these reports might be false. How can India be more than Bangladesh? See, they follow different methodology. They don't just follow the physical attacks, they also take the social hostility. Now here is the Pew Research the report on the social hostility. India tops, across the world, India tops the most socially hostile nation in the world. Now you might say, no, it is not just the Hindus, it is not just the Hindus, it is not just Hindus hating Muslims, it is Muslims hating Hindus and each community hating each other. This is a fact. Now what saves us, India right now, is if you go back to certain other reports that we have already seen, India doesn't have armed terrorist groups like in African countries who go on killing minorities or killing Christians, killing their Christians or the other minorities. India, fortunately, as of now, doesn't have those kind of very organized armed groups to do that. And compared to China, we also know that India doesn't have that kind of religious restrictions at the government level. So these are two things that saves us from being degrading into ourselves into, from a worse country in the world. But think about it. If we are the most socially hostile country in the world, and what saves us is the constitution and the absence of an armed group. Think about it if these two factors change tomorrow. And we are on a trend to change the first one, the Constitution of India. Think about the danger that we are going to have. If we are going to have the change, the tinker with the Constitution, and if we allow the armed groups to come up, we will be the hell on the earth. And shouldn't we all be worried? Not just the Christians, not just the Muslims, even shouldn't the Hindus be worried about this? How can we live in a country which is worse than Syria or Iran if we tinker with the constitution and if we allow the armed groups to come out? Because we will be in a more danger. We have to address the social hostility problem that is there in our country. Now let us, before we discuss all these reports, let us look what Pew Research has to say. It says the Indian government estimated that there were 561 incidents of communal violence between January and October in 2015. 10 months in a year, you have 561 incidents of communal violence. This resulted in 90 deaths and 1,688 injuries. And one of the incidents, a mob attacked a Muslim man speaking with his female co-worker, according to the US State Department. So don't dismiss all these reports. So no, our India is like that. No, India is on the basis of social hostility. India tops across the world, and what saves us is the constitution. If you are going to tinker with the constitution, you are going to convert India as a hell on the earth. Now, all these things as we saw, the choosing of these three countries, the only reason is the hate towards the Muslims. But the hate towards the Muslims, you have ended up amending the law which allows all the infiltrators to come into this country. As we have seen, Khalistan, anybody from Khalistan or any Muslim pretending to be a Hindu, anybody can get a citizenship. You have weakened and cheapened the citizenship. So if you have to look at the CAA from a rational perspective, it is 70% foolishness and 30% communal. It is not the other way around. The Citizenship Amendment Act is a foolish act. 70% it is foolish and 30% it is communal towards the Muslim community. This is why every Indian ought to oppose the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now let us look at the NRC, because NRC and CAA, many people say they are like Siamese twins. We had the NRC in Assam, and the rhetoric and the reality were totally different. Observer Research Foundation, one of the think tanks in India, they have published an article and they have said NRC final list opens a Pandora box than resolving the migration problem. And they have pointed out this. Occasionally, before the NRC, the government used to give certain estimates that how many illegal migrants are there in Assam. And they said they ranged from 30 lakhs, which is the minimum that anybody from the government quoted before the NRC was 30 lakhs of illegal migrants in Assam, up to 2 crore. In the sense, they went on to claim out of the 3.6 crores or more than 3 crore Assamese people, majority are illegal migrants, they said. But the number is 19 lakhs. 19 lakhs are not illegal migrants, many of them are undocumented Indians. Even if you take the 19 lakhs, it is far less than the minimum number that ever quoted by the government of India. Now think about it. Your rhetoric was one and the reality was totally different. So, if we have to extend this NRIC to entire India, do we really have a illegal migration problem? Professor Chinmaya Tumbe, he is an associate professor in the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Now he specializes on migration across India. That is his specialization. And when the census of 2011, which was much delayed, published much delayed, for some reason government did not want to publish it because it would have already shown us that the Assam exercise is futile. Now it was published in 2019, 2011 census was published in 2019, and Chinmaya Tumbe came in his Twitter and he said, today's migration threat explores immigration and Bangladesh from the just released census 2000 migration data on India. Big news. Bangladeshi migrant stock fell between 2001 and 2011, and why the pan-Indian NRC rollout is a stupid idea. Because we don't have a problem that matches with the rhetoric, our own census data. He later wrote an article in Alignment. During that time he wrote an article in Alignment 1 week after that. India is not being overrun by migrants. And he gave the exact statistics and he said in more than 500 of the 640 districts in India, immigration rate is under 0.5%, not even 1%, 0.5. And now don't assume that all these are Bangladeshi migrants, this could be from other countries also. But let us for a moment assume that they are all Bangladeshis. They are not. But as a matter of fact, let us for the case argue that even then, more than 500 districts of India, it is not even 1%. Now he says the number of people from Bangladesh in India is falling. It is already falling because their economy is doing well. Most of them would have come for economic reasons rather than anything else. Now their per capita income is slowly overtaking us. So there is no reason, there is no incentive for them to come to India. And he says the number of people from Bangladesh in India is falling, with only a few border districts hosting a reasonable number of Bangladeshis. And we have seen one of those border states, one of those states where there could be a high migrant problem. We have seen the Assam and what the result of NRC should be. Now why would you conduct a national NRC if your problem is 0.5% in more than 500 districts? Now if you have to compare it with the black money, which is demonetization, and the black money, before the demonetization, in fact almost 4 years before the demonetization, Government of India had published a report, white paper on black money in May 2012. And Vivek Kaul, later in 2016, he had shown that even by government reports, the white paper on black money, the cash portion of the black money was on an average only 5%, max 5% on an average. Sometimes 1 year it was 7.4%, but another time it was 3.7%. On an average it is 5%, 4.9% is what it is. Think about it. As per the government report itself, only 5% and on average 5% was the cash portion. To catch that, you demonetize the 87%. And what was the result? We all know the result. The result was even more shocking. It was a waste exercise and it damaged the Indian economy. At least in the short run, it damaged the Indian economy. Now think about it. At least it was 5%. When it comes to illegal migrants, or when it comes to migrants, it is 0.5% in more than 500 districts of India. Out of the more than 640 districts, more than 500 has only 0.5%. Now to quote BJP allies JDU Prashant Kishore, why would you demonetize 100% citizenship to catch the 0.5%? What kind of logic is this? What are you going to do? You are going to trouble the Indians. Now NRC again, it is demonetization of the citizenship, as Prashant Kishore rightly says, because you are assumed to be a foreigner until you prove otherwise. Now think about it. You are guilty until proven innocent, whereas it should have been you are innocent until proven guilty. It should be the responsibility of the government to prove that somebody is a foreigner. It should not, the burden of proof should not be and cannot be transferred to the citizen. But the government of India through NRC is doing exactly this. They are transferring the burden of proof to the citizen. Generally the burden of proof is shifted to the defendant in the case of dowry death, custodial rape, absence in consent of rape, suicide of a married woman, you know, wherever the weak, the other person is the victim, or the person who claims it is weak, generally on the rape cases and all, the burden of proof shift to the other party. Now every Indian, the burden of proof has shifted to every Indian to prove that he is a citizen. What kind of law is this? And what kind of rationality is beyond that you actually take out, you are going to take out an exercise of NRC across India? What is the point of having it? Let us look at, before we conclude it, let us look at some of the immigration reports. International Immigration Report 2017 published by the UN. It says that India was the largest country of the origin of international migrants. 17 million people, Indians, have migrated. Now think about it. We are the country which sends the maximum number of migrants, and we have a problem when the other migrants come to India. Mexico, followed by Mexico. Mexico is 13 million. India tops the list. Now let us look at religion-wise, what is the migration trend. Pew Research Forum, again they are published by religion-wise. Top 10 countries for the origin of migrants. For the Hindus, India tops. More Indians are migrating from India than more Hindus are migrating from India than more Hindus who are migrating to India. That means more Hindus are going out rather than coming in. And again, top destinations for the Hindus. Yes, India, India is top the destination, but if you count it, if you count the number of Hindus who are going out and the number of Hindus who are coming in, on an average, around 17 lakhs of Hindus are going out. Net outflow of 17 lakhs of Hindus. If India is such a favorable country, why would we have outflow of Hindus rather than actually inflow of Hindus? More Hindus favor other countries, and as I said, top 10 destinations for the Hindus, United States is there, but the third is the Bangladesh and the seventh is the Pakistan. Remember this. Next time when they say that go to Pakistan, it is they who are going to Pakistan and not us. Now for the reasons vary for this migration. As I said, it is not just persecution. It says that family reunification to job opportunities, the reasons vary from the place to place. But remember this, we don't have that kind of a migration problem. As far as the Hindus are concerned, there is a net outflow of the Hindus rather than a negative, there is a negative flow of the Hindus rather than actually any Hindu coming to India. And what about Muslims? Of course, there are large number of Muslims who are migrating from India. And where are they going? They are going to Saudi Arabia, Russia, Germany, France, Jordan, Pakistan, United States. Just like the Hindus, the Pakistan comes as a sixth favorable destination. So it is not much different. For the Muslims, it is a sixth favorable destination. For the Hindus, it is a seventh favorable destination. That's all. And so there are more Muslims also migrating from India, and India doesn't fall under that. And what about the Christians? Christians from India comes from the top 10 origins of the Christian migrants, but India doesn't fall for the Christians to come to India. So here we see actually, in the end, there are more people migrating from India rather than there are more people migrating to India. And where do we have a problem? We are the largest migrants in the world, and we are making a hue and cry about people migrating to India. UN report says at 17.5 million, Indian diaspora the largest in the world, and we also benefit from it. The Pew Research has said India is the top recipient of the world's migrant remittance. We are concerned about others taking away our resources, whereas we are taking their resources towards us. Look at the irony of all those things. And don't think that, jump into conclusion that, oh, all these are legal migrants. No. In US alone, the Hindu newspaper published the report in June 23, 2018. At least 5 lakhs, US government says at least 5 lakhs, or the Pew Research, again they cite the Pew Research Center study, over 5 lakh illegal Indian migrants in US alone. 5 lakh people are there. You be concerned about them rather than concerned about the people who are coming in, because that is 0.5% in more than 500 districts. Now think about the documents that you need to submit. What kind of documents that you can submit? Housing and Land Rights Network, they take the homeless people in the country, and they publish the list of estimated number of homeless people in 11 cities. Around 8 lakh homeless people are there in 11 cities. Now the homeless people are carrying the documents with them. Again, think about it. 55% of India, Mumbai is in slum. 55% of the people in Mumbai are in slums. And when some rehabilitation authority, when they wanted to do collect the documents, this is what they had to say, which is published in Limit. But many of the people don't have necessary documents, so it is getting delayed. We have not even finished half. They don't have documents to prove or give that they own a house or they stay in a house that it is theirs. And how are they going to prove that they are going to be the citizens? 55% of the Mumbai population is in slums. We are speaking about such a country. And think about the landless people. These people have one house, this is in rural India, and many members staying in that house, but they don't have any land. You are expecting all of them to prove through land records or the birth certificates and all. Around 50 crore people in India are landless. We are speaking about such a country where there is a destitute. Poverty is at the lowest level. Poverty is at the very aggravated level. Lowest in the sense we are at the rock bottom. And you are speaking, them asking them to publish, bring with the evidences, with the documents. Think about the number of slaves in India. The Global Slavery Index says that there are 80 lakh slaves in India. How are they going to publish? How are they going to give the documents? How are you going to track them? You first release them. See, this is a country that I am only taking the poorest of the poor. This is a country, it's not just the poor. We know that even the middle class will not have all the documents. And you are expecting, you are shifting the burden of the proof to the citizens. You are going to trouble the entire India. That is what you are going to do. And ultimately the result we know, we have seen it in Assam, you are not going to get any result. Now, this is the point. As people say, these are Siamese twins, NRC and CAA. The attitude of the government is, even if you have to trouble the entire Indians, even if you have to trouble 1,000 Hindu, even if you have troubled the 1,000 Christians, it is okay. But you might be able to send, if you compare NRC and CAA, you will be able to send some Muslims to the detention camp. With this attitude, India is going to be doomed. This is the same attitude of the Palestinian Muslim mothers. They say, even if my son goes as a suicide bomber, let there be some Israelites who die. With that attitude, we know how much progress that we can make. Hate actually takes care. Now, if the undocumented Muslims are not, some of them might be illegal immigrants, but most of them would be Indians only. You know the story of the Kargil hero. He was declared as a foreigner. You have read it in the newspaper. Similarly, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, former president of India, his family was left out from the NRC list. These are Indians, undocumented Indians who have given their service to India. Just because of Muslims, you need them to be left out. Now, certain people, after knowing all these things, their head takes the precedence over any rationality, and then they say, Muslims are like that, so we are okay to be troubled, but at least some Muslims will be sent to the detention camp, because they, in their Muslim majority countries, they consider everybody else as a second-class citizen. That I agree. Quran says in Surah chapter 9 verse 29 that if the people of the book, that is the Christians or the Jews, until they pay jizya and willing submission and feel themselves subdued, fight against them. So to treat non-Muslims as second-class citizens, it is the Sharia principle. Again in Sahih Muslim book 26, hadith number 5389, Muhammad says that Abu Hurairah reports that Muhammad said that do not greet the Christians or Jews. Take them to the narrowest or push them to the narrowest corner of this thing. Make them feel as second-class citizens. That isn't the essence. But the point is this, just because they have a the Islamic Sharia, do you think that you need to implement a Hindutva Sharia? Ambedkar on two-nation theory, he said B.R. Ambedkar, Pakistan or the partition of India government, which is published by the government of Maharashtra in Bombay 1990. He says, as strange as it might appear, Mr. Sarwakar and Mr. Jinnah, instead of being opposed to each other on the one nation versus two nations, are in complete agreement about it. They are in fact two sides of the same coin. So the point is, if I oppose Hazrat Muhammad's Sharia, why should I accept Hazrat Gowadkar's Hindutva Sharia? Sharia, you give it to me in any color, I am not going to accept it. You cover it in the saffron color, I am not going to accept it. You cover it in the green color, I am not going to accept it. You cover it in the white color, I am not going to accept it. Because this is against the basic principles of morality and justice that you can think about it. Bunch of thought Hazrat Golwalkar, I am going to call him as Hazrat Golwalkar only because the behavior of the Hindutva is same as the Islamic Sharia only. They are sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Part to the nations and its problems in bunch of thought. You come to the chapter, the section 16. You have internal threats: the Muslims, the Christians, and the communists. So do not think that it is just the Muslims. The Hindutva will make the Christians also feel as second-class citizens once they succeed in making the Muslims feel that they are second-class citizens. As I said, this law is irrational. It is not going to give you any fruit. It is not going to root out, it is not going to wipe out any illegal migrants. You are not going to get it. The Assam NRC has proved it. And Citizenship Amendment has actually cheapened and weakened our citizenship. The only reason for these laws to come up is the hate towards the Muslims. There is no other reason that you can find to justify it. But the Bible says in Isaiah 10:1-2, woe to those who make unjust laws, and to those who issue oppressive decrees. Woe to them. Just because the government is making the laws, that doesn't mean that they are just laws. That is what the Bible says. They can make unjust laws and oppressive decrees. Now if they make unjust laws and oppressive decrees, what is their stand? St. Augustine in City of God, book 4, chapter 4, he says, how like kingdoms without justice are like robberies. And he goes on to say, justice being taken away, then what are kingdoms but great robberies? He gives a good explanation. He says, when Alexander the Great was seized a pirate, Alexander the Great asked him, why are you doing this? And the pirate replied him, what do you mean? What do you mean by seizing the whole earth? But because I do it with a petty ship, I am called a robber, while you who does it with a great fleet are styled the emperor. A pirate does with a small ship, a petty ship, he is pirate does it with a small ship, he is called as robber, and Alexander does it with a fleet of ship, he is called as emperor. And Augustine rightly points out, without justice, there is no difference between the robber and the emperor. We have to think about it. Without justice, there is no difference between Yogi Adityanath and a Taliban terror. Justice is what makes a government legitimate. It is not just the majority who voted for them. It is the just laws that makes the government legitimate. If it is not the just law, you have to oppose it. It is a moral obligation to oppose it even if it is passed by the government. American Declaration of Independence has rightly and profoundly put this point of the Christian thought very rightly. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. All are created equal. They are endowed with, by their creator, not given by the government, with certain unalienable rights. By the creator means it is not government given, but by the creator God. And then it goes on to say, what are those? Life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, the government are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the government. So government is to protect the rights. It is not to take away the rights. A government that takes away the rights doesn't have any legitimacy left. That whenever any form of the government becomes destructive of these sense, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute a new government. in a very peaceful way, we have to do it. Government, when it comes with the arbitrary laws, they are in a way opposing the natural justice. Saint Thomas Aquinas and the others, Thomas Aquinas beautifully written about it. He provided a natural laws and the positive laws. Natural laws are laws we can understand, they are God-given laws. No government can take away it. And positive laws are laws formed by the government. Government has to form the laws. And therefore the church fathers have said that positive laws can never contradict or should never contradict the natural laws. When the positive law starts contradicting the natural laws, we have to disobey the positive law. We have to disobey the government law. It is just because the government doesn't have any right to make laws which contradict the God's law, the law above every other law. Now, it was the Christians who gave the world the fundamental rights. It is the Christians who gave the religious liberty. Just because you have a problem right now, you cannot compromise on your principles. But there are certain people who will say, but how will you handle the Islamic terrorism? There is no magic bullet to handle the Islamic terrorism. It is a long drawn fight, and that has to be fought by just means, logical means, rational means. It cannot be fought by arbitrary means, which not only will not end up in which will not give any result, and which will be unjust, and which will be as bad as the Islamic Sharia. We cannot, there is no magic bullets, and we cannot trust Hindutva to solve this problem. Hindutva doesn't have any magical bullet. Hindutva has a Hindutva Sharia, just like the Islamic Sharia. Therefore, as we have seen it, CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act, and NRC is 70% foolishness and 30% hate towards the Muslims. And we are not supposed to hate anybody because all are made in the image of God. We can demolish the Islamic ideology, but we cannot, despite any provocation, send them to detention camp or any other places like concentration camp of Nazis. We cannot send them. It is not the right. They are also made in the image of God, and Christ died for them as well. For us, the battle is on our front to fight against all kinds of unjust laws, whether it comes from the Hindutva or whether it comes from the Islamic Sharia. For us, we have to have the laws that are aligned towards with the natural law, or the laws and the liberty and the right and the dignity that is given by the God. NRC and CAA, in the end, after we analyze it, we see that there is no rationality. It is arbitrary, and the arbitrariness is based on the hate, and therefore we cannot support it. May God